All right. So, as they say, fast forward from the high school era. So you went and carried on those pursuits of entrepreneurship and creativity into the university level. So, what was the journey towards URI like? How did you get to URI?
Well, I drove.
Okay.
No. I toured a lot of schools.
Nice.
That were close to my family. You know, that was really important to me. My mom had moved here to be near her sister.
Okay.
And at the time it made sense to not be too far, and so I worked within a radius.
Yep.
I applied to a lot of schools in that radius, and got into a handful. But when it really came down to it, what I liked about URI was the campus scene. I mean, the campus is gorgeous.
Exactly.
It felt like going to college out of a movie. Like everything I would have pictured college to be. And I like that there was, I like the size of the school, and I liked I heard great things about the business school and the program there.
Yeah.
So we gave it a go, and when I got here, they constantly drill in, get involved. College is what you make it, and I was, believe it or not, one of the few that listened to that advice and maybe took that to a bit of an extreme as I got over-involved.
Okay.
Yeah. I got over-involved. I joined a few student organizations.
Different clubs, I assume, right?
Yeah, I ended up gravitating towards the orgs that could pay.
Okay.
So I don't know why. That was just, they were great programs, and the money was a plus, but
yes,
it came down to I was rigorously applying to be a tour guide.
Okay. Yeah.
Which was a lot on top of getting involved in some social organizations, getting involved in some business organizations, joining the chess team.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So getting involved there. Definitely spread myself thin, especially once classes started to ramp up. The first 3 weeks of school, it felt like there was a lot of time on my hands. My work was very easy to get ahead on. So I would put time into a weekend and finish my work for the week, and then I had all this time to do things.
Okay.
But then when classes became more rigorous and I couldn't bang it all out on a weekend, that's when I had to start letting things go.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of been my experience at URI, at least for the first semester, working to find my way and be involved as much as I could.
Absolutely. Okay, so and then that stage, looks like it was it was about being focused on building the skills, right, or acquiring the skills that later translated into the entrepreneurial career of yours. What would you say? Or you just kind of switched your mind off completely and forgot about the entrepreneurship at this point, and then there's classes and organizations that you can be involved into, and then I'll just have a good time and educational time. What was the kind of vision and
I'd say
attitude like?
In the first 3 weeks I had a lot going on.
Yes.
But there was only really one person that I had developed a friendship with that I was going through all these things with.
Yeah.
And so we were navigating it together, so a lot of downtime. We had a lot of similar classes. We lived in the same building, and as you do when you have a friend, you tell about the good things, the bad things, as well as for me, almost instinctually, based off of what you now know about my upbringing, I also loved to share that creativity, and I would still play that business game.
Okay.
What business could we start? And you and I, how often do I ask you, what business would you start if you could start a business tomorrow? Or we're out to dinner and I'll be like, what restaurant is missing from this area? I love just challenging to, find a gap and hear other people's opinions, because it's almost like a little bit of customer discovery.
Oh yeah, exactly. So the spark carried on, so to speak, right? So
forever, but it was kind of an ember. Small.
Somewhere earlier it was big time when you were starting the DJ business, right? So before the university, and now it kind of continues. So as long as you don't forget it completely, you can still kind of make something big out of that. So that's pretty amazing. And
then just to kind of wrap that up there, my friend Andrew and I were had been taking these business classes, and we were asking ourselves, well, what do you want to do when you graduate? Where do you see applying this? We talked a lot about the future. That was always something that we did, and we struggled to think about where we could see ourselves inside of an organization.
Yes.
I think that path wasn't clear, but we did know that the idea of starting your own business was possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And attractive, and we had a lot of friends that were trying to do it, which was cool to see. We weren't at the time, but had a friend who had 2 businesses. He had started a nonprofit.
Nice.
Here at URI, an organization that I got involved with and helped in a marketing capacity, as well as helping do some of the actual charity work, like beach cleanups.
Yes, exactly.
And then he had another company that was for profit that's doing very well today, which is incredible to see. And it was all about disrupting the recycling space.
Yes.
And so, he's done very well with that. But he was a huge role model, Andrew and I. I was almost looking up to him and being like, he's got 2 businesses.
Wow.
He's, the president of this organization. He seems to be
all at the university level.
No, these were. I think his nonprofit was a 501c3, and his for-profit was an LLC with a high school friend.
Nice.
He was doing it. He was doing the things.
Yes.
Right? He was doing it all, and he was doing it professionally, which had great deal of respect for. But he was a huge inspiration to Andrew and I. We almost became followers of his motivational gravitational pull.
Yes. Okay.
You know what I mean by that? Just kind of sucked us in, and he got involved there. And then fast forward, it hit Andrew and I that there was a problem that we recognized on campus. We saw it with students at different levels of trying to start their businesses. We saw it with our friend that I'm telling you about now. He struggled to navigate it all. He was constantly like, I gotta drop out of school. It was very hard to, build a relationship with him because he was always in and out of the state and, had obligations with his businesses. He wasn't really a student, but he was only a couple years older than us.
Okay.
So we saw his struggles. We saw other students trying to become, to that caliber. We saw a lot of side hustlers and creatives, and we saw them all basically struggle to manage school and businesses and life, and we felt it ourselves.
Absolutely.
And that's when it hit Andrew and I that there was possibly a way to solve our problem and everyone's problem. And that's when really the first brainstorming session happened about what that solution could look like. So, you get that problem, and then you get that problem narrowed down, you validate the problem. We knew we experienced the problem, so it made it a little easier to break it down. But once you get that problem, starting to ponder on a solution is not easy either to get the right one. So we were like, we're not messing around here. We're not going to just jump on anything. We're gonna go. We're gonna do homework. We're gonna come back. We're gonna propose an idea. We're gonna poke holes in it, and then once we find something that's decent, we're gonna go get more feedback on it, and just till we get the solution. Okay. So like weeks and weeks of that, a whole winter break. Yeah. We came back in the winter, and one day it just clicked. Like for us, we saw, we had a clarity that, of an early stage of a solution. Yes. And so once we had that, we went to go validate it, and the results were really positive. It's in the dorms in the winter of, it's very easy to knock on a door and, 7-8 kids in a room will answer. You ask them a couple questions to validate, the problem. You ask them what platforms they're using, how they use them. Would you use this? Would you use that? We were doing pretty average customer discovery. We later refined our process, and but that was after trying to just figure it out as you go. And that went on for, it never ends. That's the truth. Customer discovery never ends. Exactly. And your product's always 99% there. It's never 100%. So there's always room to make it better for your customers. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that is really amazing as a journey. So then just to kind of sort of like paint a big picture. So the foundational steps that you were taking, it was communication, looks like, right? So there was lots of communication,
tour guiding,
brainstorming, right? So that's kind of like helped you to get to your like actual business, right? That shaped into the like entrepreneurial effort that you're conducting right now, right? So then what else? So I'm sure there was a high degree of discipline because you had to catch up with the homeworks, right? Yeah. Just not to like fall out from the university, right? At that point, and it was a pretty consistent and long efforts because it took you about 4 years, I would assume, right? So like from the first first steps when you started thinking about that, right? Kind of like pondering about this idea, or what if we started this and that, right? Yeah. So, and then it kind of like carried on through the entire
college experience.
Yeah. Okay.
And every semester, it was just an ongoing project. You know, and during the winter breaks, during breaks, we put more effort towards it. I still worked in the summers, so I couldn't do this full time, but. Our friendship was cool. We both could hang out, and every time we hung out, put a couple hours into the business, move something forward, schedule calls together, like continue to educate ourselves and bring that back to the table. If we had dropped out and just did it full time earlier, we may have been further. But as you learn more about our journey to launch, if I go in more detail, you'll know that it was actually crucial for us to be on the ground floor for as long as we were, refining, building, learning, iterating with this product, because now, today, the product is in such a special place because it took so much patience to get it to where it is, and feedback from students over semester over semester over semester, and the real feedback you can pay for. Feedback like standing in a party and being like, just tell me, what do you think of this? Like, and they're giving you this honest feedback because they want to see you succeed. And we were we thousands and thousands of conversations over every semester about getting this right, and we never launched the product. So there was no pressure. Like, it was like we were just like working on this secret project a little bit. We didn't launch it in a formal way until recently. We had been building community with it, a core community around this tool, and every semester getting more students on it. But it was so vital for us to stay in school, and now
Exactly.
getting it to that point too where we could graduate and the business was making enough money that we could actually put a year on the books and bootstrap it. That was essential. I think it was essential. It gave us. We learned so much so quickly. It also was unfortunate that COVID had just really started
exactly.
to take shape. So it was a gift and a curse for us. At that time in our business, like, we were able to still do remote work. Our clients were still in business, so the classrooms were still operating. We were able to pivot just in time so that the tool could support remote learning, and we were working crazy hours.
Yeah.
And moved this thing so far. And you remember being there. Wow.
That's right.
During those
time.
years. Yeah. And it was hard. But it's exponentially grown since we first met too.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, so you hear a lot kind of, drop out from the high school and then become successful, right? So while it is kind of a legitimate way to go and succeed, right? Put in the volume, focus in a laser fashion on something, and then not like anything else, right? A lot of times, maybe, minus school completely, but plus business completely, right? So it looks like you kind of like morphed your approach throughout the time, and you were still able to retain yourself at the university, right? So you got the degrees, so that was a successful step.
Had a vibrant social life too.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not like some people say, education is all a scam. So it's not like always the case, at least, right? So we could hope. So this is kind of like die. Let's revitalize it. Otherwise, we're back to the green stage. Because I'm sure you can get some sort of important educational experience from the university. Yeah. So it's kind of like
so much.
Yeah, a lot depends on how you look at this. So, and then you can definitely get the value from your education. So it's going to be a good idea to kind of
becoming a student,
be retained in this system.
And being a student when starting a business is a very special thing, and I'll tell you more on that next time, but I will I think we should take a hint from this light.
Exactly, yeah. This light is not as kind of direct as this one, but this one makes an important point as well. Okay, that is excellent.
Right.
Yeah, pretty amazing. So it's great. So we kind of like approach the point where you shape this kind of like the core of the business, I would say, at the university level, and then you graduated, and that's when the next stage unveiled itself.
Correct. Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll continue with the unveiling of the further stages later on. Well, excellent job. Thank you, Benjamin, so much. Well, cheers and bye, everyone.